This is our March edition of our Experts and Insights series. We are so excited about today. We are discussing meditation. Today's program is titled Meditation for Greater Well-Being. The first thing that we're going to do today is chat about meditation with our guest presenter. Our guest presentation from our expert on meditation will include a two-part guided exercise in breathing and meditation. The next thing that we're going to do is talk about any questions that folks in the virtual audience or folks who are in our local Senior Planet Centers have. You'll be invited to share those questions with our presenter. And then the last thing that we'll do is segue into our tech segment. We have a Senior Planet trainer that's going to demo a few apps related to meditation, and then you'll be invited to share your feedback or any thoughts you have on the apps that have been demoed. Keep in mind, we will be hosting a follow-up session next Wednesday, March 20th, where we'll be continuing the conversation about meditation. Now, someone's going to pop the link to that event page in the chat right now so that you can grab it and then mark your calendar. I do want to note that Senior Planet seeks out subject matter experts for these programs, these experts and insights events. And our experts usually utilize their expertise in the for-profit sector. But I want to note that as a nonprofit, Oats and Senior Planet does not endorse any particular platforms or products. We do encourage you to listen to and take the information that will be shared today. But we also ask that you look at the market, see what, if any, products on this topic or related to this topic would be a good fit for you. All right, the moment that we've all been waiting for, I'm so happy to introduce Jennifer Stevenson. Jennifer Stevenson is a train-the-trainer faculty with the Art of Living Foundation and the head of training for the TLEX Institute. TLEX stands for Transformational Leadership for Excellence. She has been meditating for more than 22 years and has more than 15 years of experience delivering personal development, leadership, and breath and meditation-based trainings. She has delivered meditation programs for many audiences, including youth, many diverse communities, government officials, and executives. She has conducted these programs internationally and at many places, including Coca-Cola, GE, eBay, and for credit courses at MIT and Johns Hopkins. Everyone, please join me in virtually welcoming Jennifer Stevenson. Jennifer, you're muted.
Okay, here we go. Hi again. Thank you, Nicole, for that very kind introduction. And hi to everyone who's joining virtually. It's really nice to meet you virtually. I'll pull up my slides that we have here and we'll get started. So firstly, I just would like to say that it's really an honor and great to be here as part of Senior Planet's Experts and Insights series. And as you know, we are here today to look into the tool of meditation, and with meditation, breath work as a means to enhance our well-being. So here's a little bit about what we have planned over the next hour or so. I'll spend a few moments with a few short tips to optimize our online experience. Part of our time together today will include getting your input, your reflections. And so we'll do this through the chat. We'll talk about ways, approaches to enhance our well-being. We'll introduce the role the breath and meditation play. And most importantly, we'll actually spend a good portion of our time together in the actual practice of two restorative modalities. As Nicole mentioned, we'll finish off with some Q&A, and then the last half an hour of the session, you'll be meeting with Johnny, who will go over some great resources for sustainability to take these tools with you. So with that, let's talk about some tips on optimizing our online experience. So by now, you should see my screen, right? And then you should see me. Now, if you see where this red circle is, there's this little white dot. If you click on that, hold, and drag that left and right, you're able to adjust the size of me and the size of the screen in whichever ratio you prefer. So that's one thing that we can do. The other, as mentioned, is, we're going to keep this somewhat conversational. Though you will be muted, we can still interact, right? We're here to connect, to be with each other. And so let's interact at a few key moments where I'll be asking you questions. For that, please use the chat. And of course, which we see here. And of course, you have the reactions that you can also use at any point. And last but not least, if you can, it would be great if you can be on video. Now, of course, for whatever reason, if you're not able to turn your video on, that's absolutely okay. But if you're able to put your video on, it just makes the connecting and spending the time together richer, better. Would you agree? I'm seeing you all here on my gallery. I see Doris, Leslie, Brad, Laura. It's a few of the names that are popping up here. We've got a couple hundred guests today. So let's jump into this topic of well-being, how we can optimize our well-being. Now, when it comes to the topic of well-being, there's a lot of components to it, right? There's a lot of different ways that we can explore this topic of well-being. And it's also a very personal topic, isn't it? Right? At this point, based on our life experience, we have an idea, do we not, of what it means to be well, what it means to feel well. And on the other hand, what it means to not feel well. Yes or no? Yeah. So would love to hear from you based on your own experience. What does it mean to you to be well? And you can share your reflections in the chat. A healthy mind and body. Yeah. The body and mind are so connected, aren't they, Deb? Not trapped in negative thoughts. Yeah, having a mind that's more positive, feeling more energetic, peace of mind, this sense of being happy. Again, positive thoughts, Daphne, that clarity of mind, healthy, calm, thankful. Yeah, that gratefulness, right? Not listening to the news every day. Yeah, that the information or the quality of the information can certainly impact our sense of well-being. Yeah, a worry-free mind. So we know, right? Instinctively, we know what it means to be well, to feel well. And on the other hand, again, from your perspective, your experience, what does it mean to not be well? What does that feel like or look like? Again, you can use the chat. Dwelling on the past, the negative, feeling stressed, yeah, depressed, sad, yeah, all these emotions, angry, that tiredness, the chaos of the mind, so many thoughts, low energy, physical aches and pains. Yeah. Yeah. So again, we know, right, what it means to not be well. And it's a range, it's a spectrum. And so our goal today in our time together is to look at some maybe familiar tools, and for some of us, some new tools that can help us enhance our well-being, optimize our well-being. And when it comes to well-being, just as you've shared today in your chat, there's many components to it, right? And if you look to often a lot of universities, insurance companies, when they talk about well-being or wellness, they often define it as a wellness wheel. They use this tool, this visual, to help define wellness by looking at all these different components. It's a very multifaceted sense of wellness, right? And today, we're going to really focus on that mental aspect of well-being, because we know, if we observe, right, when the mind is steady, when the mind is healthy, when the mind is grounded and clear, right? I think one of you had mentioned the chaos of the mind, right? When the mind is settled, we feel better, we feel good, right? So we can certainly look at all these different aspects of our well-being. But for today's conversation, we're really going to focus in on this, the mental aspect, our mental wellness. So let's jump into that. And if you observe, right, when our mind is worried, there's a lot of thoughts, it's negative, it's in conflict. Melissa had mentioned stress, right? Have you observed that a lot of times our well-being has to do with the state of our mind? Yes or no? Right? And the quality of our life really depends on the state of our mind. And so, what can we do to have some say over this state of mind of ours? And we'll also observe, and many of you pointed this out, that stress, I think Barbara had mentioned anxiety and stress. A few others had mentioned that stress can certainly impact our sense of well-being. Yes or no? Right? So, one way we can start to look at enhancing our mental well-being is by, well, looking at how can we better manage or handle our stress. So with that in mind, let's just reflect, right? Well, what causes stress in your life? If we want to reduce the stress that we experience, it's helpful to have a sense of where it's showing up or how it's showing up. So what are some of the stressors in your life? You can put them in the chat. And Jackie's saying yes, stress for sure. Yeah. What are some of those stressors? Marriage, money, finances. Yeah. Yeah. What else? Outside influences. Yeah. When the outside influences really impact the sort of inner environment, politics, loss, right? Again, finances, health, adult children. Illnesses, our health, too many responsibilities. Sometimes that's not having enough time or capacity. Again, news, family relationships. You know, if we look at all of these examples that you're sharing, we can really boil them down into two categories. One are situations or circumstances, and then the other are people, our relationships, right? Yeah. So I'd like to share another perspective on stress that can help us better understand and navigate stress. And a number of you have sort of alluded to it, and that is stress has so much to do with our perception. Have we seen this? And philosophers, scientists over time has shared this idea as well, that while the stressors in our lives are real, no doubt they're very, very real. A lot of the quote unquote stress that we experience, though, is our perception of how am I going to be able to handle or deal with that stressor, right? Like one example came up, pressure from a friend to attend an outing, right? We're thinking about it. Oh, am I going to say yes? Am I going to say no? How am I going to deal with it? Right? Our different relationships, we're thinking about it. Have you observed this? Yes or no? Right? Yeah, it has so much to do with the mind, the state of the mind. And so it begs the question, well, how can we attend to this mind of ours then? How can we unload from the mind the stress that we're experiencing at the level of the mind? And one way we can do that is by optimizing our energy. Now, have you observed that if you've had a long day, a tiring day, what happens to your perception? Doesn't it get skewed? Right? We don't see things as clearly or maybe understand them as well as we'd like to, right? Or if you haven't been able to have your food on time, and there's this term called hangry. Even I get that way sometimes, right? Like again, it can skew your perception. And so what are some of the ways that we gain energy? And before we answer this question, what I'll share about energy is that there's this concept or idea called life force energy. It's like the vitality within us. And life force energy as an idea, as a concept, actually shows up in a lot of cultures and tradition. So in the world of yoga, there's a Sanskrit term called prana. It means life force energy. And in the Chinese language, there's qi, right? It means the same thing. And in the Japanese language, there's this word ki. Yeah, it means that life force energy within us. And have you observed when that energy is high, our mind is happier, our mind is clearer, our mind is more grounded, it's more settled. Yes or no? Yeah. And when the energy is low, right? What happens? How do we feel? You can put it in the chat. We feel tired. Yeah. Yeah, we feel, yeah, we could even feel defeated at times. Yes, Wanda, despondent. Yeah, not really present, not here. That brain fog. Yeah. So what are some of the ways that you gain energy, right? Because the fact is we actually know the answers for ourselves. What gives you energy? What are some sources of energy for you? You can put it in the chat. Qigong, yes, nice. Exercise gives us energy. Sleep, exercise, walking. What else? What gives you energy? Our diet, love, caring, exercising again, the rain. Yeah, especially the sound of rain can be so soothing. Exercise, meditation, gardening, my pets. Yeah, coffee, energy drinks, yoga, being outside, being with loved ones, physical movement. Yeah, these are all different sources of energy. And today what we're going to do is we're going to focus on 4 key sources in particular. We're going to look at food, sleep, the breath, and a peaceful mind. And when we can optimize the energy across these 4 buckets, it can help our overall well-being or our overall physiology. It can especially help inform the quality of our mind, the wellness of the mind. And these end up becoming like levers, levers that we can adjust and maneuver and control to help improve the quality of that energy within our system and ultimately the state of our mind. So we're going to touch upon food and sleep a bit, but really focus a lot more on the breath and meditation. So let's start looking at these one by one. So when it comes to food, right, regulating what we eat, regulating the consumption is one way that we can optimize our energy. And so having a balanced diet, really balancing the quantity and the quality, right? If we don't eat enough, we don't have energy. But on the flip side, if we eat too much, like it's Thanksgiving Day or after some big, holiday family meal, what happens to us? We enter a food coma, right? So the quantity really matters and the quality, right? To the extent that we can have fresh, healthy food, that much more energy we get from it. The more energy that's in the food, the more energy we get from it. As opposed to, for example, heavily refined foods, processed foods. So bringing some balance to that. Now, of course, less sugar it's always good. I personally really like sweets, but just being able to manage that. Too much of it, it affects our teeth. It can lead to weight gain, diabetes, and it can also make the mind more busy. The right quantity matters, right? We spoke about that, and hydration, of course, goes along with food. And then also this point of just enjoying the food that we eat. Sometimes our mind might be somewhere else, or we might be doing other things as we eat, right? But being really just present to the food that we consume can enhance the quality of it as well. And then there's sleep, right? What can we do to optimize our sleep? So quantity and quality also matter, right? If we don't sleep enough, we start feeling like a zombie, right? But on the other hand, if we sleep way too much, you still feel groggy, tired. Yes? Yeah, and the quality matters. You could spend 8 hours sleeping, but be tossing and turning all night long. So sleeping and waking at consistent times is really important. What this does is it optimizes the functioning of our internal clock, our circadian rhythm that governs our sleep-wake cycles. So sleeping and waking at consistent times is something that can really help us. Also, minimizing our caffeine intake. Too much caffeine is a stimulant. And so what it does is it blocks the functioning of adenosine, which is a neurotransmitter, which is responsible for promoting sleep. And in fact, even if you have that special ability to have a cup of coffee at night and still fall asleep easily, what studies have shown is that caffeine minimizes the time we spend in deep sleep. Also reducing blue light exposure, especially in the hour or two before bedtime. So blue light, what that does is it suppresses the production of melatonin, which is a hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycles. What research has also shown is that cooling the room can really help us. So what happens when we sleep is that our body naturally cools down. And so being in a cool room helps promote that process. So the general guideline or recommendation is anywhere from 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. And then last but not least, taking a moment just before bedtime, you're in bed, to clear your mind. And there's so many ways that you can do that, listening to some music, being in prayer, contemplation. And we're going to share a breathing technique in a moment here that can also help. Now let's look at the breath. The breath is a very powerful, effective source of energy, though it's often overlooked. And when it comes to the breath, it's the first and last act of our life, right? When we're born, we take a breath in, and then what do? We cry, typically, right? And when it's time for us to go, we'll take that final breath out. And between that first and last breath, right, that's life, right? And the breath has this really incredible, beautiful way to just calm the mind and enhance our well-being all over. It harmonizes the mind and body. It's very effective at quietening the mind, which is why we tie it to meditation. Yeah, oftentimes when we meditate, the mind, have you observed this? If you've done this before, the mind is really busy with thoughts. And so the breath helps very naturally, easily calm the mind so that we can then move into that space of meditation. It also regulates our stress response. So different breathing techniques help improve our stress response. Now, we have this thing called the parasympathetic nervous system, which regulates a number of crucial bodily functions: our digestion, our heart rate, our immune response, our emotional regulation, and our stress response. So through the practice of breathing techniques, we're able to enhance the functioning of all these physiological systems, but in particular, we can better manage our stress. We have a higher stress response, a better increase in our resilience to stress. Yeah. And the other thing that it does, or an interesting aspect of the breath, is that while it is autonomous, it is controllable. So our breath is part of our autonomous nervous system. We don't really have to think about it. It's happening moment to moment all the time, right? Conscious or not, sleep or wake, we're always breathing. But what I can also do, I can say, okay, everybody, let's take a deep breath in. Everybody breathe in, hold your breath, and breathe out. You could do that, right? So the breath is also controllable, and it's always accessible. It's always with us. And have you observed that the rhythm of our breath is connected to our emotions? So for example, what happens when you're feeling angry? What happens to your breath? You can put it into the chat. Yeah, Janice, box breathing is great. It gets shorter. Yeah. It gets faster. For some of us, it becomes harder to breathe. It gets even a little heated, right? When we're angry, right? And what happens to your breath when you're feeling sad? What have you observed? You can put it into the chat if you'd like. It slows. Yes, Beth, we're going to have an experiential part in a few minutes here. It slows down, it gets heavier, right? Yeah, and when we're a little nervous, right? Have you noticed we tend to hold the breath, and then when we're happy, right, the breath is so light, we hardly notice it. And the neat thing or the cool thing about the breath is that this phenomenon, it's a two-way street. So there were two studies, one out of Japan, one out of Belgium, where they took one group, evoked a bunch of different emotions from them by showing them different photos and images, and then they recorded the corresponding breathing pattern that resulted. And then they took another different group, had them breathe the same rhythms of the first group, and they ended up experiencing the same emotions. So, what this tells us is that we can then use the breath as a tool to better manage our mind, better manage our emotions. And last but not least, right, managing our state of mind. Another key source of energy is having this peaceful, happy mind. And so many of you mentioned this, right? When we asked, what gives you energy? Some of you mentioned loved ones, being with family, going a walk in nature, being with your pets, listening to music, right? If you noticed in all these instances that you shared about, how is your mind? The mind is calm, the mind is peaceful, the mind is happy, right? The energy in your system uplifts. So one way that we can manage our state of mind is connecting with these sources or outlets that uplift you. Take a toll, so to speak, and see, okay, what are those instances? Who are those people? What are those activities that really give me energy, uplift me, and make it a point of doing those? The other thing that we can do is go inward and connect with within. And there's many ways that we can do this, right? It's personal. You could be in contemplation, you could be in prayer. Meditation is also another way to do that. And the interesting thing about connecting within, what science tells us is the more connected we feel with ourselves, it becomes easier to connect with others. Yeah. So our sense of connection with others is very subjective. It's a function of how connected we feel to ourselves. And then the other thing, as we mentioned, that can really help our state of mind is leveraging the breath. So let's look at these four all together briefly, and then we'll soon move into the practices. How long can we go without food? Maybe a week or two, with or without water. For some of us, it's just a few hours, right? How long can we go without sleep? Maybe a day, maybe 2 days, right? How long can we function without our breath? A minute, 2 minutes, maybe, right? And how long could we go without this source of energy, a peaceful, happy mind? Yeah. For some people, it can be their entire life, right? So, from this perspective, the breath is such a critical key source of energy for us. And what studies have shown is that when it's combined with meditation, it can actually change the structure of our brain. So, these were the results after an 8-week study, increased the gray matter density of the hippocampus. This then enables learning and memory to improve, decreases the gray matter density in our amygdala. And so that means the stress goes down, but then also compassion, introspection, and awareness go up. Okay, so today we are going to learn and do a technique called the alternate nostril breathing. It's also in Sanskrit called Nadi Shodhana. So Nadi means energy pathways, and Shodhana means to clear or purify. So it really helps improve the quality of the energy within our system. And what research has shown is that there's a handful of different benefits, reduces the heart rate, blood pressure, improves lung function, and you can see a whole list here. And then we're also going to learn and do a meditation. Yeah, it'll be a guided meditation. And over the last so many years, there have been literally thousands of studies on meditation. In fact, the NIH has funded more than 1,700 studies on meditation in the last 3 decades. And what the research shares is that, helps control pain, improves sleep, attention span, lowers blood pressure, reduces stress and anxiety, stabilizes the memory, and improves immunity. I think my favorite benefit of meditation is that it just gives a really deep quality of rest to the mind. Now, when we meditate today, for some of us, we may be new to meditating. For others, we may have been meditating for some time. There's a few tips that can help us. So my favorite definition of meditation is that it's the art of doing nothing. For the next few minutes, you get to just sit and be and do nothing, right? Now, meditation is not concentration. Okay, it's not concentration. Concentration, or better concentration, is a benefit of meditation, but during the process of meditation, we're not actually concentrating. Now, when we meditate, it's very normal, it's very natural for us to have thoughts. Okay, thoughts are absolutely okay. What's important with the thoughts is that we're not encouraging the thoughts, we're not latching onto the thought and then running with it, so to speak. But then also we're not resisting the thoughts, right? Because that also creates some tension in the mind. So let the thoughts come, let the thoughts go. Yeah, let them be like dust particles in the air just floating by. Yeah. And then there's 3 golden keys that can help us when meditating. And that's one is, again, I'm doing nothing. I'm just here to do nothing. I'm just here to be. And then the second is, I want nothing, not even a good meditation. You know, whatever's there sticky in the mind of what you have to do, desires, whatever. I just, for these next few minutes, I want nothing. And then third, I am nothing, right? For a few minutes, you get to put aside your role, your responsibilities, and just be. I promise you, after the meditation, they'll still be there. you can take it back. Yeah. How does that sound, everyone? Okay, so now we're going to practice. We're going to start with the alternate nostril breathing. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction on what we're doing, but ultimately I'm going to be guiding you through it. So there's really nothing for you to do. Just lightly follow the instructions. So with alternate nostril breathing, we're going to be breathing in through the left nostril, out through the right, back in through the right, and then out through the left. That creates 1 round. And the way we do this is we place our right thumb on our right nostril, ring finger and pinky on the left nostril, index finger and middle finger together between the eyebrows. Yeah, we're not closing the nostrils. Yeah, this is how we do it. Now, this is how we do it if we're right-handed, which probably most of us are. But if you're left-handed, you place the left thumb on the left nostril, pinky and ring finger on the right nostril, and index and middle between the eyebrows. Nonetheless, we still breathe in through the left nostril. Yeah. Okay, you can relax your hands. Yeah. And then from there, we're going to go straight into a guided meditation. Yeah. And you don't need to keep your eyes open. In fact, closing the eyes helps take the attention inward. It helps facilitate greater rest. Yeah. In this process, I will be guiding you through it all. Okay. Are you all ready? Yes. Okay. So let's sit with the back straight. The reason we want to keep the spine straight is that it increases our chest capacity, giving more space for our lungs to operate. So the best way is to keep the feet flat on the floor and come a little forward in your chair. Okay. With whichever hand you're not going to use. So I'll be using my right hand. That means the left hand stays on the lap with the palm facing up. And let's get into position. Right thumb on the right nostril, ring finger and pinky on the left, index and middle finger just between the eyebrows. And let's close the eyes. And take a normal deep breath in. And breathe out. Let's close the right nostril and take a long, deep breath in through the left nostril. Close the left nostril, open the right nostril, and slowly breathe out. Breathe back in through the right nostril. Close the right, open the left, and slowly, gently breathe out. Breathe in through the left, long, deep breath. Close the left nostril, open the right, and slowly breathe out. Breathe in through the right. Close the right, open the left, and slowly breathe out. Breathe in left, long breath in through the left. Close the left, open the right, and slowly breathe out. Breathe in right. Close. Breathe out left. Breathe in left. Long breath. Close. And breathe out right. Breathe in right. Close. And breathe out left. Breathe in left. Close. Open the right and slowly breathe out. Breathe in right. Close. Open the left and slowly breathe out. Deep breath in through the left, back in through the left. Close. Open the right and slowly breathe out. Breathe in right. Close. Breathe out left. And once you're done with this last breath out, we can relax the hands, placing both on the lap, palms facing up. If you'd like to sit back into your chair, taking some back support, feel free. Be comfortable where you're seated. Eyes are closed and the attention within. Let's take a normal deep breath in. Breathe out. Another long, deep breath in. And let it go. Now become aware of your environment, where you're seated, in the room that you're in. And notice all the different sounds and noises around you. Maybe it's the sound of people in the next room chatting, the sound of cars driving by, the sound of birds chirping, the sound of your AC or maybe your heater. Accept all the different sounds and noises around you. You are in harmony with your environment. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Become aware of your physical body. Your body is a precious gift from nature. Feel honor, gratitude for this body. Become aware of your feet. Your calves. Thighs. Hips. Abdomen and stomach. Chest. Shoulders. Right arm. Left arm. Throat and neck. Face. Head. Your whole body. Your whole body. Take a long, deep breath in and relax. Become aware of your thoughts. And good thoughts, bad thoughts, just let them come. Do not resist any thoughts. You are in harmony with your thoughts. Take another long, deep breath in and let it go. And become aware of your feelings. You are peace, joy, love. Become aware of your feelings, if any. Become aware of your thoughts. Become aware of your body, where you're sitting, the room that you're in. And let's take a deep breath in, sitting tall. Breathe out. One more deep breath in, sitting up, and breathe out. You can wiggle your toes, fingers, and taking the time you may need, let's slowly, gently open the eyes. Welcome back. How was that? How was your experience? How is the state of your mind? If you'd like, you can share in the chat. Good, wonderful, peaceful, quiet, relaxing. Yeah. Do you notice a difference in the state of your mind from before to after? Great, great. So great to hear your sharing. So as we wrap up this session, what we'll leave you with in a moment, Johnny from your tech training team is going to show you how to access these two techniques, audio recordings of the breathing technique as well as the meditation. So we did alternate nostril breathing. On your own, you can also do this 5 to 10 rounds, in left, out right, back in through the right and out left. And then an awareness meditation. That's the meditation that we did, 10 to 20 minutes. You can do this twice a day, find a quiet space, and of course, sit comfortably, easily. Yeah. What is the ideal time to meditate? Anytime, but on a light stomach. And actually, with that, we'll hand it over for more questions. But for this, we're going to hand it back to Nicole. She's going to go through all your questions and capture the most common ones. So with that, over to you, Nicole, and a quick thank you to everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Jennifer, for that wonderful presentation and guided meditation. We have about 8 minutes for questions. So we do have some questions that we've gathered from the chat. We've got a lot of folks asking about the fingertip touching. What's the importance of that posture during meditation?
Yeah, it's a great question. It really comes down to personal choice. There are different positions that we can place our fingers in. And in the study of yoga, these are called mudras that help direct the flow of energy to different parts of the body. So oftentimes when people meditate, you'll see them bring the tip of the index finger and the thumb together, and then the rest of the fingers together and straight. So with alternate nostril breathing, one hand is around the nose, the other hand can be like this. You also have the option of just keeping it flat and open.
Got it. And I saw another question in the chat where someone's asking about the effect of loneliness on meditation. Can you talk about the relationship between the two?
Sure. So I would say that meditation actually helps with loneliness, because when we meditate, what we're doing is we're connecting with ourselves. And within ourselves is a reservoir of peace, of love, of joy, a lot of strength as well. And so when we go inward in these moments with restful awareness, yeah, we connect with ourselves, and that gives us strength in not feeling as lonely. And if we're physically not around people, it makes it more comfortable. And on the flip side, if we're a little shy, it gives us more confidence, right? That willingness to actually connect, reach out our hand, right? And I mentioned earlier, even science tells us this, that connection is subjective. It starts within.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm seeing Ravi has their hands raised, but there's also a question from Ravi in the chat. So Ravi, you can let me know if this is accurate. They said in normal breathing, there's no holding of breath, but in conscious meditation, you do hold the breath. Can you talk about the significance of this and what does it do?
Right. In normal breathing, generally, yes, we do not hold the breath, except, we might instinctively do it if we're feeling tense. Now, when we meditate, the metabolism goes down, the breathing can slow significantly. So it can feel like you're holding the breath, but chances are you're not actually holding the breath. Just the breath has really slowed down. It might become a little imperceptible when we're in meditation, and that's because we're in this state, or we can be in this state of deep, deep rest.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm seeing another question here. How do I quiet my throbbing heartbeats when I'm in deep relaxation? My heart is beating harder and it's so distracting. What does someone do in that scenario?
Wow. I'm not a physician, so it's challenging for me to, say exactly what's happening. Sometimes we might feel different sensations when we're meditating or doing breathing techniques, because in that process, stress is getting released. So part of stress is pent up emotions, right? And sometimes as emotions are getting released, we might feel certain sensations. So maybe the heart may beat a little bit more. Um, Meditation does improve our heart rate variability, which is the difference between the time it takes to breathe in and breathe out. But I would suggest just observe the sensation and accept the sensation, unless it's doing something. Then of course you go to your physician, but accepting it and just being there in that moment.
Thanks, Jennifer. And I've saw this question a few times. Is it okay to fall asleep during meditation?
This is a great question. I think it's my favorite question, because oftentimes when people meditate, they think they've slept, and it's possible, maybe they did. But for all of those people, actually, show of hands, who feels that they slept? Okay. It's okay. It's absolutely okay if you feel that you've slept. Now, here's another question. Could you still hear the instructions? Okay, so like I'm gonna take Pat, for example. I see Pat here. She raised her hand. Let's say we're all here, our eyes are closed, we're meditating, or maybe we're sleeping. At least it looks that way, but I'm not really sure. And I go, hey, Pat, are you sleeping? And with her eyes closed, she responds, yes. Is she really sleeping? And that is actually what meditation is. One of the benefits of meditation, you get a deep, deep sense of rest. It almost feels like sleep, but the difference, though, is that there's this layer of awareness. You're still conscious. See, when we sleep, the awareness is not there so much, right? 7, 8 hours can fly by and we don't really know what happened during the sleep, right? We're not conscious, but in meditation, we get this deep sense of rest. At the same time, there's that layer of awareness. So it's relaxed alertness, relaxed awareness.
All right. Well, that's time that we have today for questions. Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise and that wonderful presentation.